Everyone, I want to do a quick recording here just to show you how beautiful this area and show some thoughts out. But this place is just gorgeous. I mean, I wish you all here so we could sit down and talk and just discuss how the lovely things about life and you know flowers and stuff like that. So hopefully you can join me in this moment, and you'll probably join yourself too. But I just But anyway, so what I want to talk about, because look at this, man. I tell you, I was watching Little House on the Prairie, and you guys might laugh earlier, but man, I tell you, what about the times? The first episode was just amazing. I started crying about it, and it sounded crazy, forgive me and soft, because it just tore my heart. I don't want to ruin the spoiler for that, but boy, that first episode was just amazing. It's about hard work, family, and what people do, and that there's true love the neighbor and love one another, and what a well-written series. Boy, we need more of that stuff today. But anyway, I want to show you this. But look at the beautiful flowers. I actually had some eagles flying by earlier. Some noise. Anyway, what I'm talking about is look how you have all these flowers here, okay? And just beautiful and gorgeous. And what happened is a fire came through here and burned up half this mountain, as you can see, and just devastated it. See, and we got to remember though that kind of like things in our sort of world, sometimes we have destruction. But actually, good things come from a new beginning, kind of what we're under right now with Revelations. Waiting for God and the new world to come, not the new world order by them, but the good new earth and stuff like this. That sometimes destruction has to begin with a new beginning, because so these little plants, these little flowers and stuff, that if you don't have those forest fires, then it can provide a new growth, a new beginning, just with these beautiful flowers. You know what I mean? It's just gorgeous, right? The purple, and because it won't happen, because so sometimes you got to clean the forest to have a new beginning. So nature, kind of is symbolic of this. And by the way, so sometimes like the pine needles, the pine cones, they actually have to have a certain temperature degrees to open up, and so they can actually start new seeds, and they won't open and begin new seeding process until there's a major fire that burns them open. And I can't remember what the temperature is, but it's amazing that they require a fire to, like time. God put a timing, little time in the into the nature to release those seeds under certain conditions to help rejuvenate the forest. Okay. And so there was a backup plan there that God had put in to do that. Just amazing, right? Well, anyway, so another thing I want to talk about, I lost my thought there for a second, is that we, I had all this more to say. I'm sorry, because I mean, there's so much I want to bring forth about this the forest, new earth, and all these other things like that. But oh, that's what I was going to tell you. It was crazy because, a side note, I could tell you true stories that just blow your mind. People hear my stories, 'cause a lot of you don't know much about Kirk. And, I used to be a spiritual investigator. I'd gone into different old buildings and stuff like that, even in Colorado and Deadwood, South Dakota. Well, anyway, the Stanley Hotel, I know information about that place. I'd investigated it, but I don't want to distract from that. But there's so many stories I want to tell and tell the world about this spiritual world that's just, they're mind-boggling. So, but anyway, I won't get into focus on that. But what I want to tell you about this more about Mandela effect is that I had a tree. It was in Erie, Colorado, that had been struck by lightning. Okay, and it was by a baseball field. And it was about 3 years ago before I came really awake to the Mandela effect, God, the spiritual world, the Lord, and all these things, and how much the world is controlled by the spiritual world, how much we're actually involved in it. But anyway, a tree had this burnt, like, demonic, evil-looking thing. And I wish I had one here, just in this tree. This tree, it was like a tree, and it was amazing. And so anyway, last year was interesting because there's no way the tree wouldn't cut down, and or it hadn't been cut down or anything like that. So I went back to the same spot as near railroad tracking, Erie, Colorado. That's a local Mandela effect. That tree was not there. It hadn't been cut down, it hadn't been pulled out, and even it had been struck by lightning, and it was gone. This whole spiritual thing of I wish it had this really demonic, like ghost black burnt figure. And but anyway, the reason I brought it up is that there was a lot of things that changed around that, little subtle clues and stuff about Mandela effects. Sometimes people said you got to look around for local Mandela effects or things you got to pay attention to. And so you really gotta, it's not a big deal, but you monitor little changes like that were surprising. Because I went back and I forgot. I was like, gosh, well, where is this tree? And I looked all for it. And I was like, it's supposed to be right here, and it wasn't there. But it'd be like this tree just disappearing, out of nowhere. But we're seeing a lot of geographical changes and things like that. I mean, and there's been some even discussion about the population of the Earth. The reality it came from, it was around 5 billion people, and the Earth was a lot larger than the current one. And this current one it's pushing 7 billion, which is a big difference. Big difference, huge. And also, everything it's a smaller Earth, and travel times are different. It seems more compressed. I mean, Alaska is huge, huge compared to what it used to be. Oh my goodness, just massive. The United States looks like a small little area anymore compared to even Canada. It's crazy stuff. But okay, so anyway, I want to talk too much about the Mandela effect because there's just so many that, I mean, I could go on for just ever on, and there's a lot of people that cover that. But another thing I want to talk about was back to the tree thing, which is really interesting. That the aspen trees in Colorado, there's no aspens here, unfortunately. Try to scan a little bit slower. But anyway, what's interesting about the aspen trees is that what you have is they communicate and they spread through their root system. Okay, so and so they talk, they communicate with one another through their root system, and that's actually how they grow. They grow spreading through roots. And what is amazing about that? So if you see a road that cuts across them, we started building man's roads and stuff, and then actually you can see them dead next to the roadways, like the dirt roads and gravel roads. I used to think, geez, I didn't know this, of what it was causing. I didn't know if it was because of dry or whatever. They said that that root damaging and stuff like that, separating aspen trees, that they can actually die if they're not tied into a colony. And also, I know all the details, but there's also communication that they can communicate. They claim that they can communicate, probably through a slow process about infiltration and these other things about how they're being damaged and things like that. And I think that, like, these trees, even these ponderosa pines and other pine trees, that they can actually communicate through things that we haven't explored, like pheromones and stuff. That they have a way of communicating because they've noticed changes in trees. Like if there's a fire over here, they might actually communicate somehow that the trees down here somehow, that some of their fellow tree members have died. So remember, it's amazing that everything really is alive. We know very little basics. There used to be a book that was written back even in the 60s that talks about a guy had done studies about how plants were communicating and alive, even from the basic plants like this, these here, where he would actually do cutting of plants and actually record their signature signals coming off of, like they're talking. And it sounded like, sometimes it sounds kind of freaky, but screaming. I remember, this is a young kid, I was like, hey, I'm getting cut, hey, something's happening to me, and trying to communicate to the other plants. I mean, if you're funny, but it's true. And he did a lot of research, and and it was real because they actually had repeated what he had done, and he said they have a communication system. So these trees, probably, we just don't pay attention to nature too much. Nobody really cares about how nature works and things like this. We just don't. I mean, even all things are alive. And like I said, I repeat a lot, the Native Americans were aware of these things, that many things are alive. Now, so it's crazy, but it's real. So I don't want to go on about it. Just think about how much communication that these trees are We don't see the subtle, their communication networks, their root systems and stuff like that. But so we don't really appreciate nature, how delicate and intricate it is, and things like this, right? So anyway, that's all I have to say. But I hope that you're having a great day there, or night, wherever you're at. And it's just, I want to thank everybody, some of you fellow brothers and sisters that kept me support, and I hope I'm support back, because it's been hard. I mean, sometimes it gets lonely out here by myself and drive my mother crazy, and I'm trying to figure out what my role is and how I can help this world and the spiritual world, and the world's a mess around me, and I got my own issues like everybody else has their own personal issues. So how do we deal with our personal issues, and also trying to deal and to see what we can to help out in the spiritual realm as well, to help keep the peace and comedy, because it's just a nightmare when you're looking around here, right? And yes, we can put our faith and trust in the angels and stuff like that, and God, and those things like this. But well, I tell you, it's tough, because you're trying to balance both those worlds, and sometimes like, what am I supposed to do? But anyway, oh, there's a little bird just go flying by. Yep, little, but anyway. So I'm gonna shut this off now, and